How many times have you replayed that same decision in your head over and over and over again, just hoping that this time you'll finally feel sure about it? Or maybe you make the pros and cons list. You ask for advice, you overanalyze every single angle, and still at the end of the day, you feel stuck. Well, here's the thing. Most people don't realize that overthinking, it isn't a thinking problem. It's actually a safety mechanism. And once you understand that, clarity starts to feel simple again. I am Rachael Britton. I'm a clinical psychologist and clarity and strategy coach. I help entrepreneurs, therapists, and coaches build aligned success within their practice and their businesses. That kind of success that supports both your purpose and your peace of mind. Because real freedom, it's not about doing more or about burning out. It's about knowing where your energy creates the most impact for you, your loved ones, and the people that you serve. And so today is part 3 of the Clarity Framework series, where we are learning how to increase clarity in our schedules, in our actions, and in our goals so that we feel more success without working harder. Because everyone, it is time to work smarter, not harder. Now, we've talked about rebuilding your foundation, creating that safety and stability. And we've also talked about recreating or reconnecting with your heart. So, rebuilding your self trust within your values. And now, today, we're actually going to be diving into the mind, where clarity turns into confidence and it turns into this calmer decision making process. So, I'm going to be honest, second guessing is a completely normal thing. And even for myself, I used to second guess everything and still do within the caveat that now I know. So I try a lot harder to be aware and mindful of that. But I used to second guess things. I used to, every decision I would make, it would feel like a huge decision. I would feel like I was choosing the wrong thing, or I'm going to regret that later, or this person's going to be mad at me, or how will this impact me? And I just had this big noise. And I feel like I spent so much more time trying to analyze if what I was gonna do was going to work or not. And it burnt me out because it took away the time to actually take action and to make choices so that I can move on to the next task. I mean, think about it. How many times have you wasted energy focusing on, am I doing the right thing or should I do something different versus, taking that energy versus putting it into something else? So, what I realized and what I've seen a lot of my clients do is they get stuck in that indecision of not knowing what to do. And that's where they spend their energy. That's where they spend their time. And it's not about not trusting that you'll be okay no matter what happens. It's actually that your nervous system doesn't feel safe. And your mind, it just starts to spin and it tries to create this perfect choice. So when we get in this analysis paralysis, it's really because our brain's like, oh no, this might make me unsafe. This might make me unsafe. This might make me unsafe. And so the brain just goes into this threat, into this alarm system. And so it's trying to analyze everything to maintain safety. So again, overthinking is our brain's way of trying to protect us from uncertainty. And it's like our mind is saying, if I can just think long enough, I can avoid making a mistake. But the truth to the matter is that we cannot predict the future. We can only make an educated guess based on what we already know until right now. And then we have to allow ourselves to learn and grow as we go. When we believe every decision has to be perfect, it actually keeps us in this rigid state of mind and it keeps us stuck because we're trying to control our outcomes that were never meant to be controlled. And when it comes back to clarity, clarity is not about perfection. It's actually about flexibility and getting out of that rigid mindset. It's about trusting that even if things don't unfold exactly as we predicted or as exactly as we planned, we have the ability to adapt, to pivot, and to keep moving forward. So, if you're constantly stuck in that decision paralysis, here's a simple process that I use with a lot of my clients called the Mind Clarity Map. And it's a 3-step map that moves you from analysis paralysis to grounding action. So, step one is to name the fear behind the decision. So, within this step, you're going to ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? What am I afraid that will happen if I make the wrong choice? And when you name the fear, it actually loses power. When you realize what it is, it loses the power and energy behind it. And it allows you to see it from this clearer lens, so that you can take an opportunity to say, I'm not going to let that fear control me anymore, because that is a fear that I have no control over and I don't know what the future holds. Step two is to define what enough information really looks like for you. So, overthinkers, they often keep researching because it feels safer than deciding. There's some anxiety or nervousness around not knowing for sure. And so, not knowing for sure doesn't feel safe. So, staying in that research mode feels safer. So, when this happens, you want to decide ahead of time, what does enough look like for you? Maybe that is finding 3 data points. Maybe that's finding 2 opinions or a gut check, like checking in with your body and saying, how does that feel? And sometimes it's just setting a timer, or letting your brain know, I don't need to research more. So, what does enough look like for you? Once you reach that point, pause, choose, and move forward. When we do that, it actually reinforces our brain that we can make a decision even when there's multiple options. If that means flipping a coin based on 2 of the best options, flip a coin. But I would definitely recommend make your best educational guess and from what you know thus far, and know that it might need to adjust, adapt, or pivot. And then step 3 is to listen to your body's feedback. Your body often knows before your mind does. So just notice which option brings tension or tightness and which brings more ease or relief. That sensation is data too, and it's your intuition showing where your alignment lives, right? So really check in with yourself. And one thing that I talk about a lot with my clients is when they make a decision, how do they feel in their body? Is it like, "Ugh, okay, that feels good enough? I might not know what the future holds, but this feels like a good enough decision based on what I know thus far." So just kind of check in with your body. So when you start making decisions in this way, when you use those 3 different steps and name your fear, set your limits, and listen to your body, you're going to start noticing a difference because you're going to stop chasing the perfect choice and you're actually going to start trusting your ability to handle what comes next. And again, that's the real clarity. It's not about predicting outcomes, it's about feeling grounded enough to choose and adjust with grace as you go, right? So if this message resonated with you, I would love to hear your biggest takeaway and just drop it in the comments below. Share this video with someone who might need a little reminder that overthinking, it's not a failure. It's just analysis paralysis, and there are ways to work through it. It's your brain's way of trying to say, hey, there's a threat, but there doesn't necessarily have to be a threat. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so that you don't miss our next video next week, where we're going to bring everything together. We're going to talk about foundation, heart, and mind, and we're going to explore why clarity isn't about doing more. It's actually about seeing things differently. And just remember, when your mind serves your clarity, it's not through fear, but instead it helps us with flow. So when we start looking through the lens of clarity, we find more flow because we're not in a space of fear. We're in a space of clarity. So I will see you next week.